This month might be the month that I realized maybe I should lay off the big books for a while. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today guys, what we are doing is we are discussing all the books that I read in November, and as well as the ones that I unfortunately didn't finish. Before we get into that, please do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel as it does help the channel grow, and you can check the description box down below for all of my links to all my social media and my nonsense and whatnot. With that out of the way, guys, it has been a very hectic, very chaotic reading week. I don't want to say week, it's been a chaotic reading month. I don't think I've ever DNF'd or NFN'd so many books so far into them than I have this month. What I mean by that is, here, let me just pull my handy dandy post-it note and my handy dandy books that I am not either finishing, NFNing, or continuing, so I can accurately tell you what I don't have, or what I didn't finish. And one of the ones that I don't have anymore is because it has been moved on to another home, is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I got 52% into this, and then the want to keep reading it just vanished. And I don't know if this is because I was reading it physically, despite the fact that I've tried it twice on audio, and like that didn't quite work for me. I've just decided to call it at 52%, and I am not going to be reading the Gentleman Bastards series anymore. It's just not something that's for me, I don't think. I don't think this was particularly bad. It just wasn't gripping enough for me. I wasn't invested in that style of story. I'm not big into heists. I'm not big into mafia. I'm not big into gangs. This is why I haven't read Greenbone Saga or The Godfather. I haven't even watched The Godfather or Scarface or any of those movies because that stuff just doesn't appeal to me. So yeah, I'm walking away from The Lies of Locke Lamora. I do think it's got good characters. I do think it's got great world building, but I just didn't vibe with it, unfortunately, which stinks because I was really hoping that this was going to be the time that I was going to fall in love with it. The next one that I've recently walked away from is this, The Son of the Poison Rose by Jonathan Mayberry. And this is a chunky book, much like The Lies of Locke Lamora, bringing my statement at the beginning of the book into reality, or into contrast, I should say. This book is fine. I got 50% into it, which is 300 pages. And let me tell you what, this book is about 150 to 200 pages too long. I feel like Kagan the Damned was just frenetic pacing. And then all of a sudden we realize, oh, I want to kind of do more world building. So we really cranked down the pacing here in Son of the Poison Rose. I mean, we're about 300 pages in and nothing's really happened yet. We're doing more world building and we're trying to do all the stuff that we should have done in book one in book two, but already it's too late because I've been established with the pacing that you set in book one, and book two's pacing just doesn't work for me. I still enjoy Kagan. I still enjoy the aspects and all the little tidbits that are being in here, but we're throwing in a bunch of random POVs that are one-shots to kind of give snapshots of what's happening in the world. And we didn't do that in book one, and I just don't care anymore. It's interesting from a short story perspective of hey, here's what could have happened in the world of Kagan, but I'm more interested on the struggle between the Witch King of Hakia and Kagan the Damned, and that's just, nothing's really happening here. We're kind of just plodding along, and this book is just far, far bigger than it ever needed to be. This book is the biggest of the trilogy, and it's not a DNF. This is an NFN. I'll come back to it eventually because I do have book 3 that I want to read. But unfortunately, that kicks book 3 off of my December TBR, which I just released that video a couple days ago. So there will be some substitutions appearing on the December TBR, but it is what it is. So unfortunately, I've put this down. Let's see. Demon's Tear. Now, Demon's Tear, I read 6% of. This is by R.E. Sanders, and I actually had a really good time with that 6%. I was just in full-on ADHD mode. R.E. Sanders has also done Path of Daggers, which is a standalone. I enjoyed 15% of that one, but my ADHD. Anyway, I am planning on picking up Demon's Tear physically because I've got an e-arc, and I want to own this book in my collection. So I'm actually going to be purchasing R.E. Sanders' book. This one is not a negative. It was just kind of a taste tester to kind of see where my mood was, and I was kind of flipping through book. Like I pulled like 10 books down, and I read like 5% of like 4 or 5 of them. And Ari Sanders was one of them, Demon's Tier, and it was really good. I was really, really enjoying that. And then we got the final DNF at 50%. We've got Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. And I really enjoyed the atmosphere of the prologue. But as we get further into the story, a lot of the trauma feels forced. A lot of the characters feel kind of stereotypical. And it just wasn't working for me. I found one of them to be obnoxious. I found the other one to be kind of meek. I found the other one to be erratic. And the other one was just, I really liked that character. But overall, I got about halfway through this. We get through the inciting incident. And then I just kind of lost interest. It was like walking into a brick wall. Which I said that specifically because there's a brick wall in here. At the top of a staircase that you probably shouldn't unbrick. But yeah, it was like hitting a wall. I couldn't continue this. I don't know why, but it didn't appeal to me anymore. So this got DNF'd. But now for the stuff that I did finish, the good stuff. We're going to start with the books that I don't physically own. We've got Guilty as Ghoul by Casey Sutton. This was a short story set kind of as a prequel to Malthus, which I'll go ahead and throw Guilty as a Ghoul there, and then Malthus, and then back to Guilty as a Ghoul. Okay, so Guilty as a Ghoul is basically we're following this necromancer, Malthus. He is on this quest to resurrect a loved one, but like the magic of necromancy is illegal in this world, and a lot of the magic has been lost and burned and destroyed and stuff like that. Anyway, he's kind of come across this battleground, and he wants to loot it. And that's kind of the story. And then, of course, when you got a bunch of dead bodies, you get ghouls, at least in this world. And it was really entertaining read. It was a great taste tester for Malthus. So I'm very excited to get Malthus. And well, I've got the ebook, but I want to get the physical book now because it was a very, very solid, very entertaining read about a necromancer. Then I read Tailchaser's Song by Tad Williams. This wasn't even on my radar at all. It was, in fact, one of the Tad Williams books that I was like, I'm not going to read that because that was his first fantasy book. And I'm glad I did read it because he did an interview with my buddy Nico from Nico's Book Reviews. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I need something from Tad's like backlog to read now. And I was like, Tailchaser's Song, you're it. And so I picked it up. And it took me about 4 or 5 days to finish it. This is a story told from the perspective of a cat. Like, I'm talking like Watership Down style of story where like it's sentient animals and they've got their own kingdoms and they've got their own cultures and they've got their own religions and their own legends and stuff like that. And Fitty Tailchaser is going on this quest to kind of find his love, who has vanished and gone and disappeared. Gone disappearing? I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Anyway, she's disappeared and he wants to find her. And so he goes on this quest and he gets swept up in all of these big things, and it was really, really good. I would give this one, I'm going to give it a 3.5, but it was really unique. I would give it probably a B- to a C+ rating, just because it's not quite my thing, but I am recommending it to so many people because it is such a unique style of story. I don't think, out of all the books I've read in the last 10 years, this was probably the most unique in sense of POV and structure. I really, really enjoyed Tailchaser's Song without loving it. I did get a hold of a print copy, or a proof copy, of the Grim Oak Press one. That one's in the mail, and I don't have it yet. And then I'm currently 74% through Wild Skies by K.E. Andrews. This is a novella. It's the last day of the month. I will finish it this evening. I am having a great time with this. At the time of recording, at 74%, I would probably give this 4 stars or an A-. It's really unique. It's really cool. We've got guns that can shoot magic. We've got different style of like dragons. Instead of horses, people are riding dragons. We've got a Wild West vibe. It's a Western fantasy. In fact, I think it's called the Yeehaw Dragon Riders or something like that is the name of the series that this is going to be. I had a lot of fun with this one. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend that you pick this one up. That's it for the ones that I don't physically own. And for the ones that I did finish, I mean, quick recap of some of these. I know I did at least these in the mid-month wrap-up, so we'll do a quick recap here. We've got Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill, Kill the Dead by Richard Kadrey, Golden Apples of the Sun by Ray Bradbury, Golden Apples of the Sun, but not Golden Apples of the Sun and Other Stories. They are different. And then Sixth Wicked Child by J.D. Barker. Found this disappointing. We're going to give this a C rating. The ending and the gaslighting and the unbelievability of everything that's happened in this book was just, it stretched to I was unable to suspend my disbelief with Sixth Wicked Child. Still really good, but unfortunately got to the point where I was like, this is ridiculous. Heart-Shaped Box. I'll give this one a B-. Very good, but it's Joe Hill's debut. And the villain just feels kind of amorphous and evil for evil's sake because he just wants to be evil. And so he takes extreme measures to get revenge. And I'm just like, that seems off. I don't know. I couldn't believe the villain's characterization. Heart-Shaped Box. This gets a C- to a D+. Still really entertaining characters. But the pacing, where we are at in the story progression is all wrong. This is all wrong. And it's kind of jumbled and messy. I will continue the series. I am at least committing to the first 3. And then we will see. But yeah, Kill the Dead is not... It was a very disappointing follow-up to Sandman's Son. And then Golden Apples of the Sun, we're going to give that like an A. Because it was a solid collection. Great, great collection. And then I've got 3 more to talk about. And one of these is going to be my book of the month. One of these is going to be my book of the month. Yes. 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 Anyway, we've got 1,000 Li, the 4th stage. I don't remember if I've talked about this in the mid-month wrap-up. But this is book 10 of 1,000 Li. Again, very good. We've got Wu Ying, who has returned to the Verdant Green Water sect and applied to become basically an elder after his exile. And it's very, very good. A little bit, there's a lot of time skipping that goes along in this one because Wu Ying is injured and his injuries are going to take a long time to heal. And, you know, when we last left the Green Water sect books and books ago, a lot of the characters were in different places and time has moved on while Wu Ying has been away, so we have to catch up with those characters. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I have only 2 books left in this series before it is done, and the wizard will be sad to say goodbye. But that's kind of where we're at. In fact, it says change is the only constant right here on the back. Change is the only constant. So that sums that up very well. Then we've got right here, we've got the Swords of Night and Day. And I'm not sure I talked about this in the mid-month wrap-up, but essentially this was the end of the Drenai saga, and I don't know how I feel about it now that it's done. I'm kind of sad because, you know, I've been reading this series for 2 years now, and ultimately it's over, and I don't know how I feel about the end of it, just because it just kind of ends as we kind of just fade to black and ride off into the sunset. And yeah, I'm going to give it a rating of a B+, because we use a lot of tropes that are kind of tired, but at the same time, kind of used in new and refreshing ways. Specifically, the resurrection trope is used prevalently throughout this one for many characters throughout the Drenai series. And it was kind of interesting to see those characters return in some fashion or another, whether or not they were that character or just some semblance of that character. I'm trying to be very vague here because this is set in the far future from White Wolf. But very interesting. The end is kind of jumbled and chaotic and messy, but again, I kind of like that when it comes to Drenai, but it's just kind of a bittersweet goodbye. So there is that. And then finally, we've got a book that I just picked up because I was slumping, and I was slumping hard, and then I loved it, and I bought a special edition of it, and it's right here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's got a slipcase on it. That book would be this one right here, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. Now, this is air quotes based on a true story. If you ignore that nonsense, this is a very good haunted house horror story, and I just had a really fun time with this. It's nothing that's gonna make you like jump scare, but the sense of atmosphere and the sense of horror, and you can feel the terror that is kind of being bestowed or inflicted. Let's say inflicted. Bestowed feels like a gift. Inflicted feels like something unwanted. Inflicted on the Lutz family. And this poor priest is just kind of like being tortured. And I don't know. I really enjoyed these characters, and they just felt human. They felt real. And I really, really enjoyed it. Whether or not you believe it's based on a true story, there's plenty of lawsuits to say that it wasn't. But I really enjoyed this, and I think this is my book of the month. It really shocked me with how good this was, and I've been listening about the Amityville Horror for years and years and years and years, and I was like, nah, not for me. But I'm gonna change my tune because now I've got a special edition of it that I shelled out for, and I'm very happy to have done so. It's a very, very good book. But this is my reading month. These are all the things that I read, all the things that I DNF'd. November was an absolute, well, there's no other way to say it than it was just bad news bears. Yeah, I could say it some other way, but I don't want to get demonetized. So we're not going to say it that way. But let me know in the comments down below how your November reading went. And hopefully we can close this year out strong with a strong December reading month. If not, I'm more than willing to make substitutions. Case in point, I have 2 books read this month that weren't even on my radar. But yeah, that's all I really got for today, guys. I hope you're doing well. Again, let me know in the comments how your reading went. Till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby. It means the world to me.